Evening all, hope you're well. Well, this trip is a sort of bit different. Even though I am in the tractor, and I have got a boat behind me, I'm not going in the boat. I'd like to, but there's too much of an easterly wind for me to self-launch. If I self-launch on an easterly wind, I'll just blow the boat ashore before I park the tractor up and get back out there. So I'm going with the rods, but I'm going somewhere a bit different. This is the bay between Caister and Yarmouth. I used to fish really well years ago, but as I'm getting a bit older and slightly less keener, I can't be bothered to walk it, so I'm going to go in the tractor. That's damn sight easier. You can get it from Yarmouth. There's a good trek across the dunes, and when I get late at night you can't be bothered. Well, I am going to fish about an hour into the flood. I do prefer fishing on the ebb, I've got to admit, but beggars can't be choosers, it is what it is. There's a bit of colour in the water close in, for about 200 or 300 yards. It'll look sheer after that. The water always goes sheer on the flood at the minute, but as I'm going to go in the dark, that shouldn't be a problem. I'm sure that'll be a whiting fest anyway. It'd be nice to get a rooker or two, but who knows. Well, instead of talking, I'm going to bump the tractor up a gear and get a wiggle on. See you in a bit. Well, quick 10 minutes in the tractor, I'm finally here. As you see, that's Caister Point in distance, and that's Yarmouth Point in distance. I'm virtually halfway. Basically, the further south you go here on this bay, the deeper that get. But this is not a bad position. But looking at the high water mark, there's a fair bit of weed there. I hope I don't get none of that, or I'll be packed up and going. Because all the way along here, Caister and Yarmouth, the weed can get horrendous. That's why it's nice to nip up to Hopton now and then, because you get very little weed there. But got to give it a go, haven't I? Well, rig wise, I'm just started off with a 2-hook flapper with a couple of strips of mackerel. I'm sure the main foray tonight will be whitings, and that's a good start and scratching rig. I like to see it, like there'd be a few rooker in here, but who knows? You can but try. It's had a good start the last couple of days. There's been a bit of swell here yesterday. But we'll give it a go. Just bait up in a minute and cast out. And the other rig is just a single clip down paternoster with a pennel on the end, 2 3/0 hooks with a chunk of mackerel what's been whipped on. Simple. See if there's anything better, like a stray rooker kicking around. Well, the tide look like that's hossing at the minute. That other rod, you probably can't see the line, that other rod's gone right round. Hopefully that's just for tide, not weed. But generally the first hour of the tide is the strongest. So hopefully that's just the tide has pushed it around and not 18 tons of weed. Well, I can't complain with that. First cast, 2 whiting, 1 on every hook. And they're good sized whiting as well. Bit of result in it. There's a little tiny bit of weed, about a couple of inches on the leader knot, but there weren't a lot. Can't complain with that. 2 out of 2, it didn't even make there 5 minutes if that. But typical autumn hordes of whiting. I just noticed there's a poor old dead guillemot in the surf. There's been tons of guillemots lately, but this one isn't very good. I've been told by someone in the know, apparently they're all dying through bird flu. There's 3 or 4, 5, 6 guillemots washed up every day dead on the beaches around the Yarmouth area, and they reckon it's bird flu. So stay well clear, boys and girls. You don't want to get your animals or yourselves involved with that. Stay well clear. Well, you can see I'm fishing right in front of the water slide. That's at Yarmouth Haven Camp. That was rebuilt a couple of years ago. That was old and getting a bit tatty, and they rebuilt it in no time at all. So for reference, if you ever want to fish here, straight down from the water slide. Good landmark we use at sea as well. See it for miles. Well, typical forecast. The winds died down later than they said, and I could have probably gone off and got the clothes tonight in the boat and got a few errand. But that's sod's law for you, isn't it? It's been lovely to go off here this evening and get the clothes. Basically that's the local term for Sun gone down, gone dark. Heron always seem to like it, like the close when it get dark, they lift. That's a shame. That's a wasted trip really. A wasted day, should I say. I should have gone off. There you go, it's too late now. I ain't got none of the electronics in the boat. All the fuel tanks. I don't fancy rowing, that's for certain. Well, they look like a bite on the 2-hook flapper again. I better go and give it a look. Would you believe it? Another 2 whiting. As we know what we're going to get tonight, it's going to be a whiting fest, isn't it? Well, you could see there was a lot more weed that time, and the other rod with a pennel on has been out there a lot longer, so I'd better get that in. That might be like a weed washing line. Well, that's sod's law, isn't it? There's a heft right in front of me. I was giving it a bit of a pull and then the line parted. Typical. All this beach was clear and I got a bloody heft in front of me. Sod's law. Better get this re-rigged up. Well, that's Paul Williams going past in his cheetah cat. Probably to catch some heron for his shop. The White Swan on the quay in Great Yarmouth. He's got a wet fish up there. He's sold a load of fresh and smoked fish, what he smoked himself. I wish I was out there. They don't look very big from here, but that's a 9-metre cheetah catamaran. A really cracking boat, that really is. Smashing boat. Well, I was a bit disappointed that line parted so easy. There must have been a nick or chafe in the line. That shouldn't have parted that easy. There's a bit of weight there, but it shouldn't have parted that easy. I think that's probably filled up with weed, more than likely. You see that rod's bending over like I wanted to put out. I ain't got a load more weed on it. Isn't a good sign really. That's the problem here. These beaches do fish well at times, but they are a bit of a weed pit. They can be awful. Well, the other rod's been out there 10 minutes. If that's going to turn to a weed pit, I better reel that in and give that a good check over. Make sure that in. Only one whiting this time, but there seem to be plenty of weeds. I didn't put this rod very far. Only one. What's going on? And I just get this back. Well, I'm sticking the 2-hook flap about 30-40 yards out, and the other rod with the pedal on it, I'm whacking at about 70-80. Well, ever since I cast that one out, that's been bending over, so I better reel it in and make sure it ain't full of weed, because that might be a nightmare scenario if it is. And I have to start casting short until this tide eases. If not, that's going to fill up with weed. That'd be a nightmare. Well, I'll get on that rod and give it a check. I might be filled up with weed. There's a fair amount of weed that time. So I'm the cast short, but surprise, surprise, another whiting. See him alive in it. I don't think I'm going to get through the whiting tonight. Look at that. There's tons of them. Well, I cast both rods short now. There's so much weed there. That might ease up as this tide eases. Obviously the first couple of hours are the strongest. So we've got to ease up. That was lovely when I got here, but it must have been making the tide. Well, after fishing next to Bobby Bobnuts the other night and seeing his light, I had a revelation. Obviously years ago we used to play with Coleman's and all that sort of thing. When I tried my Coleman lamps and they were all blocked up and the valves are leaking. I suppose I've had it since I was about 12 and I'm 43 now, so I've had it a while. So I looked on eBay. Would you believe it? An LED lamp. That was $9.99 delivered. How the hell can they make them for that much? They come with a car charger and mains charger. And on the back, that's 20 watt, 5 volt, and lasts for 4 to 6 hours. For a tenner delivered. Can't fault it, can I? In fact, I'll see how it works tonight, and if that's as good as what it say, I'll buy another one for $9.99 delivered. Only took 2 or 3 days to come. Bargain in it. They're handy to have. I'll buy a couple of them if they're good. I don't know if that'll do it now, but that white rod keep dinging. That's definitely got a bite on it. But never do it when you're recording. Typical sod's law. I just gone up and down with the swell, but that's definitely got a bite on it. Oh, there we go. So you see it that time. I'll give it another second, see if I can fill the other hook up. Get 2 at once. Well, that's keep knocking. I better reel it in. I'm sure there'll be a few whiting on it. Well, I certainly talk that up. Not one whiting, just plenty of weed. Only casting 30-40 yards out, so that's disappointing. Well, that's lovely to have a base camp light back on the beach again. Remind me of old Coleman and Tilly days. The only good thing is you ain't got to get fuel and crap everywhere, and you ain't got to bugger about and make sure it doesn't leak and worry about the jets blocking up. So I do think LED seem to be the future. I don't know if I got the right light though. This is like a floodlight. I don't know if normally people get more of a spot, but I ain't picking up on the camera. But I can see the tips lovely, they're glowing. But obviously you need a little bit more light for a camera to work, don't you? But I seem good so far, and the tip's knocking. I better go and get that. Give it a few minutes to develop, because obviously before that was rattling and I didn't get nothing. Well, that's another greedy little whiting on the Pennell rig. This one's undersized, so I'll get him unhooked and get him back. As you see, They're 3/0 hooks, and that, and the nail right in the bottom lip, just how you want it. Easy unhook, get it back, job's a good one. But I'll get him back before anything happens to him. Job's sorted. Well, no surprise there. Another couple of whiting on the 2-hook flapper. I've got to say the quality's gone down. The first few were all well over the size limit, but the last few have just been tiny old things. Hardly worth reeling in. Just wondered what the hell that was. Thought it was Father Christmas come early or something. But it ain't. That's a load of people running along the beach. Must be mad. Then again, they are looking at someone who's using rods on the beach in front of a tractor and boat. Most people just go out in the boat, wouldn't they? But there you go. That's life. And there's a load more running along the beach. Must be 20 or 30 people running along the beach. Never seen so many people. Didn't realise that was a thing, beach running. Well, I did hear a few comments as they run past. Obviously, they're taking the pee out of me because I've got a tractor and boat here and I'm fishing with rods. But then again, I'm taking the pee out of them just to us evens, I suppose. Well, that's a cracking whiting on the pennel. Well, cracking for around here. It must be at least 14 inches long. That's a cracking whiting. That's a greedy bugger on the pennel. It's not even out there 2 or 3 minutes because I reeled in a whiting and had an overhand knot in the long hook length, so I put a new hook length on it. Well, I can't complain with a whiting like that. Superb. Well, I did think about taking off the old pennel rig, but that's sort out the better whiting. That's worth having on there, innit? I am struggling to keep up as bites left, right and centre. I'm not videoing each one either because they're just coming hard and fast, but if there is an odd rooker here, I don't think they're going to get through them whiting. They're just coming, just so many of them. Massive shoals of them feeding hard. You know what it's like. Rods are constantly knocking. But there you go. Need time to stop down and have a cup of coffee. But I ain't used my flask since early spring and my flask is knackered and that's hot on the outside, so I'll have to buy a new one, I think. Thing is, I knew that was knackered, but I forgot about it, and you stuck it in a cupboard and leave it there, and yeah, and when you need it again, that's still knackered. There you go. Could be worse things in life than a knackered flask. Cool, that left tip just banged hard. It looked like a typical bass bite where it hit it, but it dropped it again. That's on the pennel. Sod's law, but cool, that rod banged and rattled like hell. Only the once. So obviously that hit it and then let go. Sod. I ain't seen a bass bite like that in ages. Cool, it hit it hard. Obviously it knew there was something wrong and that let go and that was the end of that. It'd be nice to get a bass, but then again you don't really get many bass on mackerel baits. That's not really the thing, well not on the coast here, I know on the South Coast they do. But you don't really catch many bass on mackerel around here. Another 2 whiting on the 2-hook flapper. I don't know what's happened there. Look like the line's got caught around the middle of them whitings. Don't know what's going on there, but the quality of whitings seem to be getting worse. I was getting cracking whitings earlier, and now they're all gone small. Who knows? I'll get these unhooked and get them back. Well, that tide is pulling that gear around quick. I'm casting up tide about 30 yards. And you're casting 30, 40 yards out, and that's shooting down tide ever so quickly. That really is flying. But I ain't getting so much weed now. Hopefully I've seized up. Because no one wants tons of weed. That's a bloody nightmare, isn't it? I do take the fun out of it. Oh, look like the running light ferries on the way back. I've got to admit, some are right in front and there's loads lagging behind that look like the school cross-country run. There's people who are good at it and people who think they can do it and can't, and they're huffing and puffing right at the back. But you've got to give them 10 points of trying, innit? They want to try to improve the fitness is a good thing, but it is funny to win it, watching the ones at the back huffing and puffing like hell. Blowing like an old steam drone. Yeah, they can keep for that. Bugger that running malarkey. Well, I've got to admit, old Bobby Bob Nuts idea having an LED light. That's a brilliant idea, having a floodlight. That's like the old days when you had the Coleman. Oh, it doesn't seem to pick up the light so much on the camera. I suppose it's only got a small lens. But it's like having the old Coleman on the beach again, a bit of base light. That's bloody brilliant. Thoroughly loving it. Just wonder how long it'll last for. It said 4 to 6 hours on the tub, but you never know, dear. Time will tell. Well, I said I might have had a bass bite. And if you look at that whiting, that's been chomped. Someone's had a go at it, stone dead, and got a good bite mark across it. So someone's tried to have a go at it. Greedy little bugger. That was on the Pennell rig. You see that someone's had a go. Bite mark on it. Must have been a bass, mustn't it? Sod's law. Well, that's another whiting on the old 2-hook flapper. The length was in size, but it's a skinny old thing. So I'll unhook that and get that back. No point, there's so many whiting, there's no point in keeping them little old skinny ones. Keep the prime, chuck the little ones back. Best way really. That's a funny looking fishing camp, innit? Not many people's fishing camps when I'm angling on the beach look like that. As it is with the old Beach Buddy from the early 90s. The old olive green one, that must be donkey's years old. But that's brilliant, that's really good, them Beach Buddies. They're the best shelters out of a lot of them. And I've had that since I was 12. I'm now 43. That didn't owe me a penny, do it. How many other beach shelters hold together like that? None. Well, I just had another whiting on the Pennell rig. That was a good length, but that was skinny as hell. I didn't take a video of it because there was a chap and his grandkids coming out of chat. I think they were on holiday from the holiday camp. That was such a nice chap. He said he watched my videos, so it's nice to see the people behind the names and that sort of thing. But obviously got that fish and I didn't want to be rude and ignore him, so I just chucked it back in the breakers. A long old skinny thing. As that tide seemed to have gone on, the whiting seemed to have got thinner and thinner and poor. The first half a dozen whiting were lovely fat plump whiting, but they're not now. Cool. The whiting are getting smaller and smaller every time. The one on the top hook is long and thin, and the other one's a little tiny bugger. But there you go, that's life. I'll get them unhooked and get them back. Well, I'm still only fishing 30-40 yards out. You can see why. That's the weed I picked off the line. Loads of it. Well, it ain't that bad. I suppose there's about a foot of weed a cast, but that's this really tough green stuff. It was a bit of a nightmare to get off. But then again, there's still plenty of fish 30 yards. But I would like to go out a bit further and see if there's one or two thornbacks about here. So I know my mate had a couple just up about half a mile up the coast from here a few nights ago. So they don't look that much. There's still plenty of weed and the waves are still coming over it and washing it away. There's tons of weed here. Isn't that the way on the east coast around here, Norfolk and Suffolk? Tons of weed. It's a nightmare. Every time you get a northerly, that knock all the weed off the chalk reef up north Norfolk and bring it down here, and that just seems to sit here. Well, that's a greedy bloody whiting. Got him on the Pennell rig and he's took the whole thing down. He's only about 9 inches long. Quite greedy little bugger. Let's hope he took. He looked like he's took the hooks down, but I'll try and get him off without no surgical procedures. No point in killing him if you don't have to. I don't know if you can see it, but the old mist has rolled in. I thought it would do with an easterly wind. When you get an easterly wind, and tonight the temperature of the land is obviously cooler, the air temperature is cooler in the sea, so that's all obviously misted off. So maybe it wouldn't have been that bad if I'd gone off in the boat. I have got radar, might need it to get them. There's so much mist in the air, you can't, they won't even pick up the rod tips on the the camera, but I think you can just about see him. But I just put the left hand rod with the pen a little bit further out, but it's bent over already. So I've got a nasty sign that's got plenty of weed on it. But there you go. That's life. You've got to be in it to win it. I mean, nice to get sneak a late form back out on it, but you won't get him unless you try. Well, that's another couple of whiting. One on both hooks. They're better size, these ones. These ones both look sizable. And they're not skinny like the other ones, so that's a little bit better, isn't it? You don't mind if they're sizable. They make cracking fish cakes. They really do. Oh, I'll get these off and I might keep these couple. Well, look at that. That tide started to ease. Alright. Conventionally, that's 2 hours to the end of the tide. How I do it in the boat, but normally I'd stop an hour before on the beach. So there's only about an hour or so till high water. But still seem to be getting plenty of weed. I'm casting 30-40 yards out still. I'm getting about a foot of weed on the leader knot. Ain't the end of the day, but that's a pain in the bum, keep cleaning weed off all the time. That soon wear thin. So there's even weed down there. Bloody stuff. That's like horrible tough green stuff. It was a really nightmare to get off. Well, that red stuff generally come off easy, but this is like really tough green. Don't know what that is. But it ain't easy to get off the knots on the line. Well, that was a blinking first. Can't believe it. Just wound in the pennel rig. Big chunk of mackerel was virtually gone, even though I whipped it on with elastic. And there weren't no whiting on it. That's the first, isn't it? Maybe because the tide's eased and they don't hook themselves so well. Right, a bit of tide flowing. I don't think there's hardly any tide there left at all now. I think it's the first time I reeled in and there's been no whiting. There's been literally dozens of whiting, dozens. I ain't even videoed every single one because there's been so many. That's just alive. Showing them something else. A few codlin or cod to eat the whitings, thin the numbers down a bit. Unfortunately, I think cod are a blast from the past here. That water's just too warm for them, and all the cold water planktons move north, so when they have spawn, the fry need to eat cold water plankton for the first 2 weeks of life, and they just ain't got nothing to eat, so the fry starve. Shame really. Never thought that'd happen, but these things do, unfortunately. Them whiting are thinning out as that tide ease. One whiting and the other hook ain't got nothing on it. Well, most of the night that's been one white on every hook. But it's a bit of a skinny one. I'll unhook it and get it back. Well, that's me all finished for the night. That's now 9 o'clock. Tide's finished. It's now dropping away from the beach. The tide normally starts dropping away from the beach about half an hour before the actual tide. I kept about 7 whiting, what a okay size. I normally fillet them off and debone them and turn them into goujons. Normally a bit of breadcrumbs, that sort of thing. But it's always good to gut whiten as soon as possible because they eat fish and everything. The fish rot in their guts and their guts turn ever so quick. So the quicker you can gut whiten, the better. Well, the light has been on over 3.5 hours and I've got to admit that has dulled down a little. It ain't quite as bright as it was. But that's only $9.99 delivered. Sometimes I take 2 or 3 charges to get the full capacity out of the batteries. I only charged about 4 or 5 hours yesterday, so I didn't know if that was full or not. But for $9.99 you can't go wrong. That's a handy little thing. I'd say for that sort of money I might even buy another one. They're a bargain. It's always handy to have a battery powered light in it. And for that sort of less than a tenner delivered, you can't really fault it, can you? Well, that's me all packed up and loaded up. Luckily the tractor started first time on the button. I'd have been a bit embarrassing dragging my old man out of bed with his tractor to rescue me. 9:30, 9:45 at night. Where are you? Oh, in the middle of the bay, went fishing in the tractor and boat. He'd have probably laughed and called me a pillock or something. But yeah, I don't know how it was worthwhile, and I caught more fish coming in the bay. more than I would just off Caister. But that was worth a try, innit? You can but try. If you're not getting results, you got to chop and change and move. So yeah, that was worth coming up here. That was an enjoyable session. I was parked right near the exit of Yarmouth camp, and there was quite a few people who come down and had a chat. And it was nice to meet the gentleman and his grandkids. Well, I assume those grandkids on the beach and have a chat. You watch my videos. It's nice to see different people. Alright, thanks all for watching. Tight lines. See you later.